Hey everybody, Jamie from the Marine Doctors YouTube channel, and today I want to talk about the fact that the diagnostics of your engine starts at the service desk. I know you'd be thinking that all the magic starts back here where all of these boats are, but no, that's not true. Now the reason I'm bringing this up is we had a little bit of a mishap up at the front, and I'll get into it in a bit, but let's talk. Now, when you go in or you take your boat to the dealership or to your service place, you want to be as explicit as possible with your symptoms. Don't gloss over things that don't matter, like it was rainy or so on and so forth, or the waves are big, or there was a hot babe on the beach. Stuff like that really doesn't matter, unless, of course, the service writer asks you that. Now, the reason that I say the service writer might ask you that, and no, he's not going to ask you about the hot babe on the beach, but sometimes conditions will come into play of what's happening with the engine. So if it was cold outside, if it was hot outside, if it was super windy, or things like these, sometimes they come into play and they will help with the diagnostics of the engine. It speeds things up and it saves you money. Now, when a customer comes into the shop, what we like to do is talk to them. You know, first off, put them in a very nice, comfortable situation. Ask them how they're doing, how their summer was, things like that, so that they're more comfortable once they get inside. So it's easier to extract the information from them. So customer comes in, hey, how are you? Did you have a good summer? Great. What can we do for you today? And they'll say, well, the reason I'm here is my engine's not running properly. So that's number one. We know it's not running properly. They believe it's not running properly. So then number two, and say, well, in what way, or how do you feel that it's not running properly? And they'll get into their story, and they'll say, well, for an example would be, when I punch the throttle, it bogs a little bit, and then it takes off and it goes. So then the question starts, okay, well, is the engine also hard to start? And they can answer that question. So we start leading them in different directions in order to get or extract the most information that we can prior to the prior to the service technician having to work on the engine, right? That way we don't have to make a phone call and say, hey, you know, what's really the problem or what's going on. It's up to the service writer or the front desk, obviously, to figure these things out with the customer, or find them out, not figure them out, find them out with the customer. So if a customer comes in and they say, yeah, the engine, it appears to be overheating, there was a buzzer that goes off, well, then possibly we're leading in the right direction, but maybe we're also being led into the direction of the oiler's not working and the engine seizing and overheating that way, right? There's other possibilities. So we would ask, well, did you look over your shoulder and was there water coming out the telltale? And they'll say, well, no, there wasn't. Well, that's more information than we had before, and it would lead us in the direction of, okay, it's probably going to be a water pump issue. So then we would start with compression to make sure that the engine or the validity of the engine is okay, and then we move out from there and pop the leg off, check the water pump, so on and so forth, and put it back together. So those are some of the things that happen, or the course of repairs. Okay, so you want to be as explicit as possible when you take it in. That is if you're not doing your own thing, right? If you're fixing it yourself, if you're fixing it yourself, even ask yourself the questions. Lead yourself through what you would do with a service writer so that you've got an idea of the steps that you might have to take rather than chasing it down the wrong rabbit hole. Now, speaking of rabbit holes, this is where the problem came in yesterday. A 115 Merc came in for winterizing. Now, I want you guys to all remember this. Right now, we're in a winterizing phase right now where all we're doing is procedure. A boat comes in, we do the same thing over and over and over. We drain the water, for example, we fog it, we condition the fuel, we run it out of gas, we do all of these things that we need to do, and it's all procedure. That's all we're following is procedure. So we're kind of out of the diagnostic mode right now. So when someone does come in with something that needs diagnostic, again, it needs to start at the front, but again, winterizing is on our mind. So a 115 Merc comes in and it says winterize, and then it says buzzing noise, and as it was explained, or what I'd heard later, is at full speed it makes this buzzing noise, and then you back off a little bit and the buzzing goes away. So being that it's I'm in winterizing mode, my detective skills or my interpretation skills or my diagnostic skills aren't as sharp as they are in the middle of the season. So I was thinking linear. I was thinking, okay, that sounds like a water pump. We'll chase the water pump. We took the gear case off. We looked at the water pump. The water pump was damaged. The seal above the water pump for the tube that goes, or the connector that connects the water pump to the pipe, the seal was torn out. Okay, so it's very likely that I was right, but I took the engine out after to run it, and what I found was it was really, really, really hard to start, to the point where I was like, this isn't normal. But again, being in the winterizing mode, it, you know, I kind of just passed it off. Okay, it's colder outside. You know, I made excuses for myself to not dig deeper and take a further look into the possibility that, hey, maybe there's something else wrong, and maybe what this guy was describing needed a lot more investigation at the front door, right? Because I never talked to him, and if I had talked to him, if he would have said buzzing, I know I would have thrown some questions at him just so that I would know. But unfortunately, I wasn't there to do the intake. So I'm not saying that we're let down at the front, because, well, you need to know the questions to ask, and sometimes it's tough to get these things figured out. So I take the blame for what happened in the back, and yes, I probably should have made a phone call and talk to him. So I'm going to call him today. He's already picked up the boat, and I'm going to have a discussion with him and see if I can get some further details, because if my diagnosis was wrong, we need to know, right? Because I don't want him going out next year and having an issue with the boat saying, you know, it's making that noise, or it was something that was far more serious that I just glossed over and made a mistake with, right? Because things do happen. We're extremely busy here this time of year. I think we went through 12 boats yesterday, and there was just the two of us working. So it's possible mistakes get made. So I guess what I'm saying is, be as explicit as possible when you guys take your boats in, right? Run through the gambit of the questions, answer as much as you can, as detailed as you can for the service writer, right? Again, if you're doing the repairs yourself, ask yourself those questions as well, right? When does it happen? How does it happen? Why is it happening? So on and so forth, because all we deal with here is symptoms, right? We're just like a doctor, just like the marine doctor, right? We deal with symptoms, and with the symptoms, we find the cure. And sometimes we cure a symptom, but there was more to it. We didn't find the cause. So we throw some cold medicine over top the symptom, but it wasn't really the right answer, right? Sometimes that happens. So we don't want to run into that possibility, and that's why I'm going to make a phone call and make sure that, hey, we're on the right page and I did the correct repair. I still think I did the correct repair, but I just want to hear it from him, his story or his rendition of what actually was going on. Now, if you guys want more about this, on Friday at 8 p.m. Central, I'm going to be online, and we'll do another live stream, and you guys can sit in with me and I can discuss this type of thing further. You know, questions to ask, how to phrase your answers when you are asked the questions, and so on and so forth. And we can do a little more of a deep dive into what to say to the service writer, or how to handle that situation. Anyway, I'm going to go for now. The phone's already been ringing. I got to get back to work. It's going to turn into a zoo here right away. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.